One of the most widespread images of Africa and in unconscious minds of millions of people, including a good proportion of Africans themselves, is that of a passive continent, receptacle of influences rather than source of changes. Some have not feared to offend both women and Africa by going so far as to call Africa the female continent. Africa is presented as passive and illegitimate, in contrast to other more active and more conquering, I dare say more invasive continents. But beyond the usual examples of amazing African figures in history, have there been any major changes that happened in the rest of the world which originated from Africa? If you have wondered about this, then this series of Sankofa trips on what the West owes to Africans will please you. Hello and welcome to this exploration of how Africa has contributed to modernize Europe.
African History Daily by my daddy.
To begin, the Sankofa set off in Algeria a day in 1958 during the War of Independence with, on one side, the nationalists, in particular the National Liberation Front, and on the other side, the French army, responsible for restoring order at all costs. The onset of this war can be traced back to the day in 1945 when the young Bouzid Salas was shot by French police holding the nationalist flag. That was just before General Martin made even the dead tremble by firing 800 cannon shots at the city of Sétif. Although the Algerians fought for their own freedom, one wouldn't be wrong to say that this war had a significant impact on the future of Europe, and here is why. In 1958, the Algerian conflict put the Fourth French Republic to the test. France was torn apart and was almost imploding in the civil war. Only one man was seen as a solution to pacify the country, General de Gaulle, who on his returns from his village to Paris demanded a new constitution which created the Fifth French Republic, which is still in place to this day. His vision of the greatness of France led to a redefinition of its role in NATO and the abolition of the US military bases in France. Also, his great friendship and collaboration with the German Chancellor were key forces behind the creation of the European Union. So my question is, what would have become of France if Algeria, by its struggle, had not defeated the Fourth Republic? And since we are talking about the European Union, let's land in Sankofa in another European country, Portugal. Like Algeria, it was the liberation struggle in Portuguese colonies, Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde and Sao Tome-Principe, that created huge political tensions in Lisbon. These tensions ended in a military coup in April 1974, bringing down the dictator Salazar and with him the era of fascism in the history of modern Portugal. The Portuguese therefore owe to these Africans the advent of democracy and the political modernization of their country. In short, the battles waged by African nationalists for the liberation of their country have forced major political and societal changes in France, in Portugal, and in the whole of Europe, which has found itself humanized again. And this rehumanization also took place in an often neglected area, the question of racism and its ethical definition. More than any other region in the world, Africa has helped make racism a matter of international conscience. It was under the pressure from African states that it became impossible for South Africa to claim that apartheid wasn't an issue within its national legal system. Africans have first made it possible to internationalize and institutionalize the fight against racism, which placed the continent at the forefront of the transformation of racial relationships on the American continent. And precisely to transform racial relations, it became necessary to strip colonialism of its legitimacy regarding international moral conscience and the right of the people. For centuries, international law has justified, recognized and legitimized that a European power can colonize a non-Western society. Wasn't international law itself the child of diplomatic history and the art of governing in Europe, it could therefore only be filled with the presumption, prejudices, values and standards of Europeans. If it was unfair for Hitler's Germany to occupy Poland or Belgium, how could one justify the occupation of the Nile Valley by Great Britain? In summary, it took the joint struggles of the African and Asian people for some of these arrogant and ethnocentric premises of so-called international law to be called into question during the second half of the 20th century. The West was first forced to rehumanize itself again by a continent to which it had denied all humanity to better justify its enslavement. My African cliché of the day is a word, a myth, which is called the West. This curious term that has become so common, used by almost everyone, and which I myself use several times in this episode. If hearing this term did not make you blink at all during this episode, it is because you visualize this name as a precise geographical space with demarcated borders maybe, which represent a more progressive part of the world. So you too were probably an unconscious victim of this magic trick in history.
If you want to measure everything against the Western value system, that's what you're suggesting. And I'm suggesting that the Western system doesn't provide every solution to everything. Other people, other places, other countries have their value systems as well, and they are answerable to their own people.
And the devil is so deep that it will take a kind of collective purging to make people, especially Africans, aware that the term West does not designate the same part of the world, depending on whether one is in Japan, in Pakistan, or in Cape Town. Don't you think that the current use of this word just validates the idea that the world is polarized? On one side, the active people, and the other, the passive world to which Africans happily belong. It's up to you to think about it now, and until we meet again for the second leg of this trilogy. Thank you and see you on board soon. Goodbye.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and post a comment on Apple Store or your usual podcast platform.